Aloha, and welcome to Bring the World Home, a production of the Returned Peace Corps Volunteers of Hawaii. My name is Betty Compton. I served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand from 1980 to 1982, and I'll be your host for today's program. Today, we will be sharing a Peace Corps volunteer's experience from abroad. We would like to share a message of friendship and family with people of all countries and cultures. With us today is Moon Yon Choi, who served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Mali, West Africa from 1995 to 1998. Welcome, Moon Yon.
Thank you, Betty. Thanks for having me on the show.
What made you decide to become a Peace Corps volunteer, and why did you choose West Africa as your place of service?
Let's see, my best friend from college at USC, she always wanted to be a Peace Corps volunteer. And at that time, I didn't have any interest in it. And she went into service, and she got stationed in Africa. And I received these wonderful postcards from her, and postcards of elephants running in the wild, and letters of her experience. And so that's what inspired me to join the Peace Corps. And I was a French major, and I kind of had a feeling that as a French major, they would station me in Africa, where they have a lot of Francophone countries.
Okay. Can you show us on the globe exactly where Mali is?
Sure. Let's see. Hawaii's over here, and Mali is in West Africa, over here. It's a landlocked country, about twice the size of Texas, and the countries that border Mali are Mauritania, Algeria, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Cote d'Ivoire.
Did you know anything about Mali before going?
No, I knew nothing about Mali before going. When she first said Mali, I thought to myself, oh, that sounds familiar. Does she mean Bali? But then she told me it was a country in West Africa, and it was actually called Mali. And then after that, I went to the library to try to do as much research as I could on the country. But at that time, I couldn't find very many books on it. And so it was kind of hard for me to picture or have a sense of what the country would be like.
I heard that there's a group of people called the Dogon people. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, the Dogon people are one of the many ethnic tribes that comprise of the people in Mali, and they're known for their folkloric and artisan artifacts, and they're unique in the sense that they were able to retain their own culture and way of life, because they have their own religion. I think it's called Amanist, and Mali is mostly a Muslim country, and so to flee being converted into Muslim, they fled into the Bandiagara escarpment, which is located in the middle of Mali toward the Sahara Desert. And there they built cities or towns in the face of the cliffs.
Oh, interesting.
And it's really amazing. And you'll see in one of the photos that they have presented on the screen, a Dogon woman ascending by foot onto the top of the escarpment, and it's a photo taken by a Peace Corps Mali colleague of mine.
Oh, so you weren't able to encounter any, to meet any while you were there?
Actually, I was able to, because I was stationed or posted in Dogon country, which is what they call that area of Mali. And so there were, a lot of Dogon people
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you about your training. Where was it? How long was it? And what did it involve?
Oh, our training was in country in the city, the capital of Mali, which is called Bamako.
Okay.
And it's next to the Niger, and in Bambara, it's called Crocodile. And but our training area was a little bit outside of the city, and it was really cool. We had language training of the major Malian dialect, which is Bambara. And I was a small business development volunteer.
Okay.
And so we had a lot of those classes on how to teach villagers to, start up their own small cottage industry.
And upon your completion, where were you sent? To a town or a village?
Oh, I chose Dogon country because I saw on the postcard of, this beautiful escarpments, and with the towns, built in the face of the cliffs, and I heard so much about it, and I asked to be posted there.
Oh, okay.
But when I got there, the town that they sent me to, it was a Dogon area, town, but it was way, way, way out, and it was so way out that it was near the border of Burkina Faso, another country, and it was like a 3-day journey just to get there. And it was a town of 10,000 people, and they had mixed ethnic diversity there: Dogon people, Bambara people, Po, Fulani, and it was very, very close to the border of Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of housing were you given?
Oh, our Malian counterpart who requested a Peace Corps volunteer, they had to find a house for us. And so Koro is pretty, spread out because, it's in the desert and there's a lot of space. And so our housing situations were where we had, huge compounds, and I ended up with this huge 7-room mud banco house, and my friend who, visited said, "Hey, you could roller skate through these hallways." That's how huge it was, and and it was very primitive living.
So no stove or refrigerator?
Well, it depended on how you wanted to live, but I either bought or rented like a stove with the butane gas, and so I cooked that way, but there was no electricity, and
Did you have a running water system?
the first 6 months that I was there, I had to draw my drinking water from the well, and it wasn't Peace Corps level yet, where you had to have a cover on your well, and so there was like all these dust and sheep feces and all that stuff that went into the water. So every time I had to draw the water from the well, then I had to like filter it, then I had to iodize it, and and it tasted terrible, and just the thought of drinking it was just but I had no choice because I was in the desert, and it was either drink or
And that was for the first 6 months?
Yeah, that was the first 6 months, but then ironically, like after I got to that town, there was a foreign development worker or agency that one day just put in running water throughout the whole town. And this was like a big, large, expansive area. And so they happened to build one of the faucets next to where I lived. And then for some reason, they couldn't find someone in the neighborhood to be responsible for the key that opened the water faucet. And so it was kind of funny. I became the water tiki, like the water chief, because I wanted the running water. But then I had my guardian, Pierre, sell the water. I mean, he loved doing that, that stuff. And yes.
And you did that until you left. Who took over your job?
Well, the thing is, Peace Corps, you're supposed to continue on the project of the volunteer before you. But in my situation, the said volunteer, the small business development volunteer, that person early terminated or ET'd during what we call stage. In French, it means training. And that was a big disappointment because I really wanted that person to follow up on a grant that I had prepared for the Women's Cooperative, a group that I was working with for their poultry farm. And and the last I heard is that my small business development sector director, he was working hard at trying to find out, where the money went. Or but I don't know. After that person, they could have found somebody
else.
Yeah, somebody else. Yeah.
You mentioned Pierre. He was your guardian. Why did you need a guardian?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I didn't know that we needed a guardian either because the other Peace Corps volunteers or my supervisors kept telling me, oh, you need a guardian because there's a lot of thievery, going on and stuff. And I'm like, oh, really? And then around that same time, there was a knock up at my door, and it was Pierre. It was this tall, skinny old man, and he was speaking to me. I don't know if it was in Paul or Bambara, and he's like, oh, you need a guardian. You need a guardian. Women should be alone. Blah, blah, blah. And then at first I was just like, I'm sorry. No, I don't need a guardian. And so he came back the next day, and gave the same pitch. And then after a while, kind of wore me down. So I just said, okay, whatever. You can be my guardian. And there were these bunch of kids around, and they were trying to translate for us. And so we're trying to negotiate, the work and everything. And and then on his first day of work, he opens the door and he comes in and he plops down like all his stuff, and I'm like, what is that? What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going to live here. You said that I could live here. I said, when did I say you could live here? I said, the kids translated that you could live here. And I was like, at first I was like, no way. There's just absolutely no way. But then afterwards, he turned out to be, such a kind, great little man that later on his family moved in. And it wasn't a huge family because he was Christian. So he just had one wife. So it wasn't like 10 wives and 30 children. But it was him, his wife, and his small kid. And then, I ended up converting one of the 7 rooms, which I really didn't need, one of the rooms into a separate, house or for them. And then we covered the wall, and then we knocked down the wall on the other side and made a door, and all that stuff. So it was really cool having them around and stuff. So yeah.
Thinking of Pierre, what memories do you have of him, and what did you learn from him?
Oh, Pierre was such a great guy. I learned to have respect for villagers, Because then the way I treated him at first, was kind of like, oh, don't tell me what to do. You're just a villager. And there's this one situation where I live in a mud brick oven house, and it's like an oven inside. It's hot, and I noticed that all the windows there were small and tiny, and I'm thinking, it's so hot. Why do they have small and tiny windows? And so I told him, I said, I want to knock down this wall and make a huge window. That way you can have a breeze and it won't be so hot. And he's like, no, I don't think that's such a great idea. I'm like, why not? And then he said, well, you should build like a covered area outside, which is what all the Malians do, and hang out there and stuff. And then I was just like, I was dismissing him. And then later on, I come to find out that in that region, they have huge, massive sandstorms. Like, they look like, tsunami, except it's orange sand coming at you.
So then you understood why he was discouraging you.
And then, and then after that, I said, you know what? We'll stick to small windows.
Oh, did you have any pets while you were there?
Yeah, that's another funny story in itself. I ended up getting a cat, not at first because I, really wanted a pet or something, but it was because when I first moved in, I heard this, this mouse noise, this squeaky noise. And then there's a mouse, like in my luggage, and I freaked out. And so I ran down the street to my host family's compound. And I said, yeah, there's a mouse in my house, And they were like, oh yeah, of course there's a mouse in your house. You have no cat. and then so one of the host's father's son sent his son to my house, and then he chased the mouse around the house, and then he finally killed it. And then that's when afterwards I got a cat, a kitten.
Did you go to a shop and buy it, or did someone give you the cat?
No, we got it from our neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much socializing did you do with your neighbors? Did you have them over for dinner, or did you go on outings with them?
The day-to-day living took so much out of my time, and plus there was the work I had to do with the Women's Cooperative, that really kind of took most of my day. So I didn't do so much interacting with my neighbors, unless it was for unless it was for like, Pierre would tell me, you want to eat rabbit. Well, I heard, one of our neighbors, they have rabbits, and then we'd ask them to bring over a rabbit or something. Or we'd go to the lady who's growing the lettuce, or to my host family's house. But I interacted on some ceremonial occasions, like the wedding ceremony of my host family.
What are weddings like? Is it a big affair?
Yeah, it's a big affair. His was kind of unique because he was a Protestant pastor.
Okay.
So they had two ceremonies. They had a Christian one where she wore like a, typical white wedding gown. And then they had a traditional African one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then afterwards, they would line up and you would dance to it, and then, you would drop in your gifts and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you would wear at a wedding, what you have on? That's a nice dress.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Actually, this is something I would wear. Over there, they had their clothes made. Unless you went into the city or something, there wasn't really like a department store where you could go to buy clothes. So there are all these individual tailors, and they would make your clothing. And then I went to one in Bamako. This woman who actually had tailor training, I think in France or something. But so she made this outfit for me, and then she made another outfit for me, which is really cool. And since I was living in a Muslim country, you know, I always had to wear long dresses or long skirts and stuff. Yeah. And then
Did you bring any of this cloth?
yeah, this cloth actually it's a indigo it's a indigo material, and the women in that multi-region area, they would, you know, wrap it around them and wear it as a skirt.
Okay.
And
what is this box?
oh, this is really neat. This is a Tuareg made jewelry box. Tuareg are the nomads that yeah, travel from, I believe, the Moroccan area down to the Mali region, and they do salt trades and stuff. And it's kind of cool to see them on market days, you know, and they bring their camels and they have the salt tablets at the side. But this is one of the jewelry.
That's nice.
Yeah, this is really cool. And the neat thing about this is you think of coral pieces as ocean pieces,
Yes.
but this is actually desert coral. And this is a decor that you see on a lot of the Malian women. And yeah, so I really like this because of its uniqueness. And this is a typical Malian necklace, and it's kind of interesting that some of the beads, they're like Venetian hand-blown beads. I don't
nice.
know. Yeah, yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
didn't you bring a picture with you?
Oh, and then I have,
You have another piece of jewelry.
yeah, and then this one is it's another typical one. I
That's
don't know
nice.
what kind of metal that is, but oh yeah, I do have a photo. Let's see, this one is a photo of one of the villages that I had to pass through in order to get to and from my town, Koro.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's see, and on a photo that they're showing you on the screen right now, it's a photo of Dogon mask, and they put on the mask during the funerals.
Oh, okay.
And they have dances and chants, and that's to encourage the deceased to join their ancestors.
Oh, okay.
And that photo was also taken by my Peace Corps colleague, Sean Davis.
Okay.
And then behind me is tapestry, another artwork, and I really like it because it's a village scene, and it just, you know, shows you the day-to-day village life. And then above me is another blanket or wall hanging.
Okay.
Yeah, and then to the right of me is another
That's nice.
blanket and wall hanging. Yeah, and the neat thing about this is, you know, you get to see them like making it from scratch, like from, you know, weaving the hair of the sheep, you know, spinning it, and then, you know, putting it all together and stuff. So
An actual finished product, yes.
yeah, yeah, very, very natural.
Do you
Yeah.
have any funny cultural stories that you can share with us?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I have a lot of funny cultural stories. So I had to order furnitures from the villagers, And then, I go up to them and say, okay, I want a chair and this, and then I'll pay you this and this. And they'll say, okay, we'll deliver it to you in a week. And then a week would come and, they wouldn't show up. And so at first I was kind of like, gee, I wonder why, they're not bringing my furniture. And then later on I found out that there's this law against chopping certain woods because of the, the deforestation and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, but then I finally got, a licensed, registered furniture maker, and it was pretty funny because I, aside from the chairs and stuff, I ordered a bed, and it turned out to be like this huge queen size bed, and it was made all out of wood, held together by sheepskin. And that thing must have weighed a ton. I mean, literally a ton. Like if it dropped on you, like you'd be smashed or something. And so the furniture maker, comes to the house. He knocks on the door, and he's like, oh yeah, I have the bed. It's at my neighbor's place, and I'll, walk over there and bring it over. So I was like, oh, cool, finally, and then 5 minutes later, I hear this knocking on the door, and I open the door, and the guy had this huge king-size bed, on his head.
Yes.
He had walked from his neighbor's place,
That's
with that
amazing,
huge heavy
yes.
thing, and then just to see that, it just took me aback. Yeah.
Munyan, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Please join us next time when we visit another country and bring the world home. Aloha.
Baba,